How have you been?
Good. Had COVID a couple of weeks.
Oh, no. How'd you do with it?
Not well. My wife, 2 days, she was fine.
Mhm.
Me, I was down for a week.
Mics are on, so that's all public record now.
Oh, good. One minute. Opening the special meeting for the town council at 5 p.m.
President, move to go into executive session.
All those in favor, roll call vote.
Aye.
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 Okay. Okay. Okay,
President, motion to return to open session.
Second.
roll call, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. President, move to seal the executive session minutes.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. President, I would like to have Aaron Lease read my motion from executive session.
The following motion was made in executive session, made by Counselor Colasante, seconded by Counselor Sheehan, authorizing Attorney Maruzak representing the town of Richmond regarding the Boulder Hills tax appeals to notify the judge for the intent to participate in mediation.
Toilet running.
It was a affirmative vote by all members.
Okay. Do I have a motion to adjourn the special meeting?
Moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Gonna take a break before 6. We get indicated that they were happy with the offer and then they didn't take the job.
Interesting.
Hmm. Okay,
Something better showed up.
6 o'clock. Ready? Okay. Please stand for the pledge of allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
Please remain standing for a moment of silence. Okay, thank you. I just want to start the meeting off by, I'd like to keep a reasonable pace. And what I mean by that is, if a counselor wants to speak, they say, Mr. President, wait for me to acknowledge it before they start speaking. That would make me happy and it would make for a more orderly meeting. So I ask for that.
Mr. President,
Yes,
I'd like to approve the consent agenda 1, 2,
second, just the two?
Are you talking 1 through 7?
Yes.
Oh, wait a minute,
Mr. President, I'd like to move.
we should take out 6 and 7 because of the letter that's attached.
Rich, you wanted to?
Remove one, please.
So I had a
1, 6, and
motion,
7.
so, is it 1 and 2, or are we 1 through 5 and that's?
It's 2 through
2 through,
2 through 5,
2 through 5.
and we have a second.
That's fine.
I'll second it.
Thank you.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Mr. President,
Yes.
motion to approve the number 1 consent agenda, the council minutes.
Okay, I second that. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Rich abstained.
Mr. President?
Yes.
6 and 7 were postponed. Counselor Sheen had said due to the attached letter, but I don't think the letter's attached. Council was earlier sent one. I'm sure it'll be a part of public record later. There are concerns that, the energy, I don't remember if it was the polls. I'm sorry, I actually give it back to you on accident in my envelope. But, there's concerns that it'll cross over somebody's property.
Right,
So I don't want to not approve it, but I think that we should just pause a minute and let everyone have the opportunity to make sure it doesn't.
right. I saw that they're worried about guy lines and so on, because that's usually they have to put something in the ground and disrupt things, so. So are you suggesting that we just don't vote on them at this time, or?
Right, so if everyone's agreeable, we'll just do a motion to postpone
Okay,
6 and 7. Correct.
all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, public forum. I invite anyone to come up and speak, as long as you are a resident of the town or a business owner in town. Please come up and identify yourself.
Point of
Sir?
order.
Sure.
I don't think that's a rule, and I'd love to hear from anybody who has an interest in our town meetings. Sorry.
I usually invite residents first, and then if there's other people. Sir,
Dave Bankson, Wyoming, Rhode Island,
how do you spell your last name, please?
Bengtson. I just wanted to speak on the subject of noise. This is kind of precipitated by July 20th. There was some kind of music event at the cigar lounge by the highway exit there,
Yeah,
and it was really quite loud. But that got me thinking about what I'll call cumulative noise, for lack of a better term. I mean, there's always noise from the shooting at the preserve. There's always highway noise, et cetera. And I want to make an analogy with, I spent part of my career in environmental toxicology and marine waters. And so when the Environmental Protection Agency started regulating pollutants, I'll say 40, no, they didn't start, but 40 years ago, they did everything on a chemical by chemical basis. How much copper can be allowed in the water, how much chromium, how much endosulfan, et cetera. They eventually decided that that piecemeal approach wasn't good enough. And so they took what is known as a whole effluent approach, looking at all the stuff that's going into the water simultaneously. So I don't know if that can be some sort of a model as to how you think about when you grant permits for people to do concerts or whatever other noisy outside event. But I just wanted to tell you a little story. Last spring, our son was down from Pawtucket where he lives, and I was having dinner. We were listening to the gunfire from the preserve. There was another concert at the cigar lounge. The highway traffic was pretty noisy, and he said, it's definitely quieter in Pawtucket than it is here. So just think about that for a minute.
right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Anyone who's a non-resident? Anyone online? Going once, twice? We move on to reports. Karen?
First item I have is a request to award a bid to USG Water Solutions for repairs to our water tanks. This is something required by the Department of Health. Our water operator, Northeast Water, created the scope of work and the bid documents for this. The work, like I said, will be completed at both tanks, paid for by the water system account, in the amount of $37,500.
Mr. President?
Yes,
Move to award the bid to USG Water Solutions.
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
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 The second item is a request to award a bid to Vinagro Materials for the paving of Pinehurst Drive, Sonnet Drive, Crestmont, and John Street. This is partially funded by DOT through that same municipal road and bridge program that we did for others. So it's 33% of the total cost. We did receive 8 bids. Vinagro was the lowest at $358,490. According to the state, the bids were required to be awarded by September 30th of this year, but we're not actually required to go forward with the work until 2026, which we don't intend to do, but DPW does have some prep work to do, so it will likely be the spring, and Vinagro is absolutely fine with that.
Mr. President?
Yes,
Move to award the bid to Vinagro Materials LLC.
Second.
okay, all those in favor?
I'd like to ask a question
Aye.
first. You said you had 8 bids.
Yes.
Would it be okay, maybe in the future when these bids are opened to let us know?
Sure.
So that way,
I always do an Excel sheet anyway, because I have, inevitably, someone always asks for the results. I mean, we do it just because it's the right thing to do, but we have these companies that vendors subscribe to that notify them of bid opportunities, and so they always contact me for the bid results. So it's always done anyway, so I can include that.
okay, I request maybe, on the agenda,
Sure.
you submit who the bidders were
Right.
and what the amounts were.
Mhm.
Yeah, that'd be
I
great.
might even have it minimized
So-
on my computer right now and be able to at least give you the spread. So they went from, $358,490 for Vinagro all the way up to $566,000.
Okay, so in the future, we'll get the
Sure.
spreadsheet. Yeah, that'd be great. Okay.
Okay,
I think we're still.
There was a motion and a second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
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 The last item I have is a request for approval to increase the pay for our town clerk. During the budget process, we had discussed increases for certain personnel. The town clerk was one of those positions. Erin really has an awful lot of work on her plate.
Mhm.
It's definitely increased since we initially hired her. A lot of it's specific to COVID and elections, where we have 20 days of early voting for the primaries, for not the charitable budget, but the bond. Pretty much everything. There's 20 days of early voting, a lot of extra work. Additionally, she's got a ton of work on her plate with probate right now, so I'm sure you've all noticed we're getting emails from Erin, at 6 o'clock at night. She's very, very capable with 17 years of experience as a town clerk. Super honest. I couldn't ask for anybody any more honest and fair. She's also a resident here, so she definitely has a vested interest in doing right by the town. I did provide you with some comparables. West Greenwich pays their town clerk $81,567, Situate $82,823, Charlestown over 96,000. Hopkinton's a little bit less, but their town clerk only has 2 years of experience. So my request is to use some of the council contingency that we put away for wages to increase her to 82,000.
Mr. President. Motion to approve the request to increase the salary.
Second.
Oh.
I do want a discussion real quick.
Okay,
I just wanted to say, I support it. I'm gonna vote in favor. I made the motion, et cetera. But I was just a little taken back that we didn't have all the information at once for like all of the employees, just because, not all the employees, but like, I'm concerned it is gonna may become a slippery slope. And I know that you and I talked about that. I just wanted to say it publicly too, that if we get another request for another raise, I would like for it to just be any and all. That way it's not, town clerk today, maybe another staff member another day, another staff member, and it just goes on and on and on. I'd like for it to kind of just be one and done, you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
And I'm just seeing lately how much Erin is here late at
Oh, me
night.
too.
And I have this fear, if you all remember when Sarah left, she didn't come to me and say, hey, I have an opportunity to go to West Warwick for a lot more money, because she knew I couldn't even begin to come close to offering her what they were offering her, and I wouldn't wanna
It
have
would've
Erin
been
come to
nice
me
to
with
have
no
you.
notice.
Right, and that kind of segues into my other concern, where if we are that overstaffed, like maybe we should look into getting staff, because work-life balance is just as important to a lot of people. Just a food for thought, not something we really need to work on, but. Food for thought.
Mr. President, I have some thoughts about it too, because I like Erin. I know she worked really hard and she's good at what she does.
Yeah.
But I know it has implications for all the employees of the town. And it still doesn't get her out of here before 6 o'clock at night. We give her more money, but, so I think we need to maybe have an executive session and talk about, are there some things we need to change to give Erin a little work-life balance?
I think a lot of it too is we brought in someone to help with elections, but she's new. And so she still needs a lot of direction. I mean, I'm not saying she's not good at her job at all, but it still takes Erin, to jump in there and kind of our new person can see it happen.
Well, some things you just can't delegate, right? If somebody has a particular level of expertise on something, as Aaron does, then you can't, it would take longer to, in my job, it takes me longer to tell my subordinate how to do something than for me to go and just do it and have them come with me.
Or you could hire somebody new and then pay them a whole bunch more money, which would be way more money than the fraction of money that you're gonna give Erin for a pay increase. Then she's still gonna have to train that person, which is gonna take her time away from what she's doing. So where's the,
President?
Yes, sir.
where's the balance?
Council, so.
Yeah.
This has nothing to do with Erin. I know the hours that she works here and whatnot. Just looking at Charlestown being real close, the clerk does get paid 96,000, but she has worked there for 22 straight years. Erin's been here for 3. The Charlestown clerk's office has 1 less employee than we do. But the truth of the matter is here, this is like precedent setting, because we have what we call Town Board of Ordinances Title III. And that's revenue and finance. And this protocol that we follow that with Mr. Lacy. When you gave Mr. Lacy a 15% increase, that went through the finance board, and then it came before the council. Council reviewed it. And then it went to a public hearing and people voted on it. This is kind of like circumventing all that. I think it would have been more appropriate to go through the process of going through the department heads, going through the administrator, to the finance board, and then to the town council. And then the town council reviews the budget for that fiscal year, and then it goes to public hearing. And then it goes to vote.
I don't think there's a requirement for a raise to go to public hearing. I think it coincided with a budget, so the budget went to public.
Right, so this really, I mean, what I'm saying is should have been put in the budget, because then it would have given the voters a chance to vote on this.
Mr. President, Mr. President.
I'm not
Yeah.
done.
Go
I'm
to
not
next,
done,
please.
please. I'm not done. I'm just going by, again, it's nothing against Erin, but just following protocol. It's always been set up that way, like I said, with Mr. Lacy. It was put in and it was proposed to the finance board and then it went through. All right, the protocol of following it right to where the voters voted on it and on the townwide referendum. So with something like this over here, with a $12,000 raise like that, it's kind of like circumventing
It's
the
not.
voters a little
It's
bit.
I've got it
not
into-
even close.
What's that?
It's like, was it 4?
Well, what they voted on was the budget. That's Mr. Lacy's pay increase coincided with the budget. Public is not gonna vote on individual employees' pay raises. That's not what the idea is. Go ahead.
And it's also my understanding that this was a part of the municipal vote because it was part of the contingency that you had just
For the
mentioned
vote,
just now. Another thing, I'm glad Vice President Messini brought it up, was didn't know or neglected or forgot or whatever, that we do have new staff. So we are gonna get to the point over time, if we keep Erin and get that staff well trained, we'll get to the point where her hours are less and she'll get that work-life balance. So I'm good to vote.
So it's not a
This is correct, it's
$12,000
not a
increase in
$12,000
pay.
raise.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
4,000.
And much deserved. I've seen the time that Erin has put in and you just see the look on her face. Oh, another mandate for, with the school budget and everything else. All of that stuff came down and put so much burden on the town clerk's office. It was incredible.
Mr. President, I do think that we all appreciate all that Erin is doing. The fact that she knew the dates, that we couldn't have all these votes at the same time, and why we couldn't have them, that was a level of expertise that not many people have.
So I'd like to take a vote at this point.
Mhm.
Yes.
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 Stain,
I'm going to say yes. I was going to abstain because I think we should do it in executive session, but I'll vote yes.
that's what I thought too.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Karen. Chief Elwood.
Evening, everybody.
Hey, Chief.
How are
How are
you?
you?
Hi, folks. Happy almost end of summer. Thanks. What I have on the agenda is the stolen vehicle that crashed into the roundabout. It's the first real significant crash. Ended up capturing the person that stole the vehicle. But when it first came in, it was third shift, right near the end of third shift. Corporal Vaughn and another officer responded out. Car was heading down the hill, crashed into the high curbing because it's not yet done, so the curbs are real prominent, and disabled the vehicle. One of our per diem traffic officers was on scene and was very astute, made observations. Person fled from the vehicle after crashing, never a good sign. Usually it's because they're drunk, or they don't have a license, or there's some other thing amiss. He tried to get another person to stop, and they refused, but they were a great witness for us. He ends up running towards the elementary school, kind of towards the water tower. So when our officers arrive on scene, within a little while, they discovered the car stolen out of North Kingston. And right on the water in Plum Beach area. It's an Audi Q5, kind of a high-end car. And all they had was black male suspect, black hoodie, sweatshirt, and sweatpants. It happened to coincide with an area that we have our Richmond Recreation Summer Camp. So there was a concern about that. Kicks off at 9 o'clock. They saturated the area with officers from our department, and we had state police come in with a K9 with their drone. We had Charleston come in with their UAV. Just great collaboration with our mutual aid partners. They're wonderful. What I'd like to thank Karen Pench for assisting us with putting this out on Facebook. We're trying to alert the public using social media. A lot of people monitor Facebook. I don't, but I get alerted by other people that do. We put it out on our Facebook page. We put it out on the town's Facebook page. We notified the director of the summer camp that this had happened in the area. There was no weapon seen, no reason to think that anybody was in any danger. They checked all the surrounding area. That building's locked down. It's locked at all times. Only a few people have access, including the police department. So we said, why don't you start the camp at 9? We're going to have police officers remain in the area, but don't have the kids go outside until we confirm that we've exhausted the search area. Could not locate this individual initially. I mean, you've got the field across on the backside of the school that belongs to Mr. Kenny. An astute parent saw our officers starting to comb the campus on the outside. It said, I see the police on one side. I just saw a guy that fit the description of the person we were looking for, kind of running towards the back area near the fields. So they start to collapse their zone, and then they located him in the greenhouse, just as summer camp was about to start. No weapon, immediately surrendered. But this is a reminder, and it's great work. Corporal Vaughn did great with the initial alerts to state police and surrounding communities. Detective Bishop ended up locating and arresting the suspect with the assistance of Andy Bridey, Officer Bridey, and Officer McGillis. But lo and behold, this individual was 17 years old from the state of Connecticut. He was a probation violation wanted by the state of Connecticut for possessing a handgun. And when I bring this up because we are neighboring to Connecticut, 7.5 miles away. In Connecticut, you're 16-year-old, you commit a felony, you're charged as an adult. In Rhode Island, it's 18. So he was going to be 18 in about 28 days. We had to charge him as a juvenile, possession of a stolen weapon, which has really no teeth, obviously, he's a juvenile. There are criminal elements from Connecticut that will travel into our areas. They call it towning. And I'm not saying that this is what this person was involved in, but this is a pattern we've seen in other communities where people let their guard down because they feel safe. They live in a good community, they know their neighbors. And at like 2 o'clock in the morning, these folks, youths often, because they know they're not going to be held here in Rhode Island generally, will go and try to open car doors and driveways. And that's what they did in Plum Beach. The keys were in the car. So we stole the car using the keys that the owners had left in there because, again, their guard down, they felt safe, it's in their driveway. They'll rifle through, they'll look for other things. I cannot stress it enough. Please lock your doors. I'm not telling you that you're not safe, but it's nice to go see your vehicle in your driveway when you wake up in the morning and not have the thing missing. Just great work by the police officers in that particular instance. Thanks to the state police, town of Charleston for assisting us. The other thing I wanted to mention, just because we're right on the heels of this thing having occurred, I want to thank the staff from the Richmond Police Department, in particular John Arnold, who ran operations on site at the Washington County Fair. Great. We just have a really wonderful community where our fire department, our EMS, even the fair staff, Pete Fish in particular, we did a lot of pre-planning in advance of this fair after what happened last year to mitigate traffic issues and to mitigate issues on site. And it really went flawlessly. It's one of their they said Saturday was their busiest day ever. And we had no backups per se, longer than 20 minutes, where somebody might be waiting in traffic for. And it immediately, the guys got it flowing. Just really wonderful work by them. DPW, Gary, was wonderful. Getting us signage. We did a local traffic only closure restricted traffic on CNN at Buttonwoods, Carolina Newsom. That was a problem last year. People use Waze apps. They're not from the area. Next thing you know, you can't get out of your driveway because there's blinded cars. So we went out and actually worked with the apps to reroute traffic. It really credit to all of them because they're doing their regular 8-hour shift. And then they're doing another 8 or 10 hours at the fair. And it's hot and they're in full pack, wearing body armor, dealing with 1 million people asking questions about everything under the sun, separating people who are getting into kind of testy exchanges because they're hot. It just cannot say enough about the work.
Thank you, Chief.
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
Chief, I have one question.
Yes.
The suspect that allegedly stole the car, how does somebody get from Connecticut to North Kingstown without a car?
Oh, no. They normally have 2 or 3 individuals in the car. And they go to these locations and they have runners that will go into the driveways, jump back in the car if they have no success. They are not looking for a confrontation. They don't want a homeowner coming out with a gun. They don't want to have the police after them. They are trying to do this in the quiet of the night and find the car with keys in it. And that's what they did there. That individual ended up going to Providence juvenile court, and he was remanded to the state of Connecticut. We have charges on him, but they have charges that have significant consequences for
Right.
an outstanding probation violation.
Thank you.
Chief, I got a question too of Peoples. I've heard though, if you've got the keyless with the part, if they have a device too that if it's close to the vehicle, that they can actually open the vehicle up and get it started?
Are you talking about the perpetrators having a device to do
Yeah.
that?
Yeah,
They may, listen, the technology evolves so rapidly, you could say three things that I've never heard of because it just changes so often. But in all the instances that we've had, people acknowledge, and you know, sometimes they're embarrassed. I leave my keys over my visor, I left my keys in my cup holder, they've got a computer, some people work for companies, they've got keys for 15 doors in a building where they work, and now those keys are missing. It didn't happen in this instance, but it happened a few years ago on Gardner Road. So it's takes no time to lock your car. You're still safe, but it just prevents somebody from going in there and accessing the interior.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up,
Mr. President?
I hear some kind of voice. Yes.
So Joanne applied for, right, so she applied for the Elder Affairs Commission,
Yeah,
but she is not going to be available on Tuesdays. Like, she has a standing Tuesday commitment, so she will never be available on Tuesdays. This commission needs 5 people in order to be full, but at least 3 for a quorum. So we have 1 member right now. Joanne would like to join, and we're in the process of trying to find more people to join the commission. But I just want to suggest that council just kind of indefinitely continue it because they don't have a quorum anyway.
right.
But we could work with her, you know what I mean? Have a special meeting on whatever day is available around just to do this appointment as well.
Never available.
No, that's what she told me.
You could've,
Okay,
like,
so you're gonna make
text
a
her and
motion?
say, It's right now, like jump on real quick in like literally 2 minutes.
I asked if she was available via Zoom and she said no.
Okay, so
Are
you're
we
making,
willing to make a,
I can try, I can ask, like, if I text you a minute before the meeting or a
well,
minute before it
if,
comes up.
make a motion to approve or I'll second it, we'll discuss it. And before, because I'm not gonna talk about something if it's not,
Alright, we can't approve somebody who's not here.
right.
just
Okay,
Put it on, so
motion
we
to
can-
approve.
second
Joanne,
it, discussion.
okay, so we're discussing, and is she available to? At the last second, if you just called her, would she pick up?
probably not. I don't know.
We, if I may, my office has been in person.
Put it up, so
Is
she's
there-
gonna put on for the next meeting?
She's never available on Tuesday.
Never.
So here's my proposal. You know the person? Is the person an upstanding citizen of the town of Richmond?
They are a member of the Senior Activities Committee.
Karen, do you know her? Karen, are you aware of this person?
I do not.
Elwood, have you ever heard this person's name on your milk carton?
I think we have the other person who joined the committee here as well.
Is that other person here?
I do not know this person to have any problems.
The person who knows her, could you kindly stand up and state your name and state of residence and can you affirm for this person?
I'm Alice Bolognese. I'm a Richmond resident. I am on the Senior Activities Committee. And Joanne is as well on the committee. She serves as the secretary. I've known her for 2 or 3 years now. She's very devoted to helping out the senior community.
Okay. My point being, she's already on a commission. Why don't we step out of our comfort zone, use our brain and go, here's a person who wants to vote, be a part of our community. Let's look at it and go, you know what? Let's put her on.
That's-
Instead of, because she's already stated, Tuesdays, she's permanently unavailable.
So the last thing I wanna do is stop somebody from volunteering, so I'd like to to take a vote on it regardless of the fact that she is not here.
So,
So-
Mr. President,
Gonna be president.
just to be clear,
It's only a precedent
that's
because there's.
correct. There were times where I thought we should have allowed it, and all of you said, no, they must be here. So we're setting a precedent. So, and I'm okay with that, but
Okay.
just so you know.
I am, I'm aware of that.
Okay.
I think the longer I've been doing this being my third term, the more I see where it takes
Courage
wise
to step out of the.
wise decisions to
Lead.
make exceptions. So,
So, Mr. President, there used to be a rule that somebody could be appointed if they weren't present, just based on like if they were well-known. But I didn't find that in our new amended procedures, so we might have lost it in the transition of our new rules and procedures that
I
we
don't-
created last year.
I don't think it was in the old one either.
Okay, I'll double check. That's what my memory served me. So I'm totally open to doing it if it's somebody who's well-known. I don't think we're necessarily guaranteeing that somebody will have it happen to them.
And the fact
But
that she's already.
Already on a commission.
yeah,
that
she's
would be-
already
that
on
would
one
be- Yeah,
commission. That's huge. So she doesn't need a background check and all of those things.
that's not my department.
She does, and she did.
Okay.
And she passed.
Oh, she did. Okay. So that being said, I'd like to take a vote. How do you vote?
I,
Aye.
Hi,
Thank you.
Crisis averted.
Mr. President.
Yes.
Motion to approve the renewal of Carolyn Richard to the Board of Canvassers for the
Second.
term expiring February 20th, 2030.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I,
Aye.
Hi,
President,
Yes.
motion to approve, Roland K. Motion and Carol Miller for the Senior Activities Committee with 2 vacancies for term expiring as follows. 1 term expiring May 31st, 2026, and 1 term expiring May 31st, 2025.
Second.
so what do they, which one goes for
Who gets the
which?
term?
I will say, first name goes for the first term, the second name goes for the second term.
Easy enough.
Just
Yep.
comments.
Second it,
I already seconded.
okay.
Are they here?
Yes, they are. Mr. Moshin is there. And Ms. Miller is right.
Okay, all right. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 I,
Thank you.
Welcome to the party, gentlemen and young lady.
New busyness. Discussion and consideration of amendments to the Code of Ordinances regarding the addition of chapter 4.34 Senior Activities Committee with the authorization of the town clerk to advertise for the public hearing.
Mr. President? move
Yes.
To have the town clerk advertise for public hearing?
second.
All those in favor?
I,
Aye.
Hi,
Item 2, request of Counselor Wilcox for discussion and consideration of a policy to guide what is displayed on a new town hall sign.
all right. I'm gonna just start with a motion, so we have something to discuss. I'll say motion to create a policy or guide, ask our town staff to do so for what's displayed on the new town hall sign.
Seconded.
Great. I think it's a good idea, so we don't end up getting in trouble.
Right, so for the public, people who don't have access to the agenda, I did include a little bit of a description on why I think it might be a good idea. The idea actually came, I like to give credit where credit's due. It came from a resident who came to one of my open office hours. They were concerned just about what would be on it. So I thought this was a good idea to give the town hall staff the, to empower them to, be able to say no to entities that may want to use it.
Question.
Yeah.
Outside entities will not be allowed to use the sign, but may continue to use town property to host their own. Meaning like Charlestown Seafood Festival, they can continue to use. the
Exactly.
Sandwich board, but not put on our.
Electronic.
Correct, exactly.
Okay, got it. Okay, I'm cool.
Any further discussion? That being said, I'm going to take a vote. How do you vote?
I,
Aye.
Hi,
Thank you. Next item is request from Anthony Marie Tavares for discussion and consideration to accept the late filing of their application for senior exemption.
Mr. President? move-
Yes.
Move to approve the late filing of Mr. and Mrs. Tavares.
second,
Any discussion?
Yeah, I do have concerns, and I just want to state it just because I understand they applied in the past and there were efforts to apply, but I'm concerned that now multiple or other people will come forward and say, I was late too, I was late too, I was late too, and I'm worried about how far that's gonna go and where it'll end. That's my only concern with this. I know it's not a large amount, but it could create a larger amount. I also want to recognize that us as a council, we have done a lot to, for this exemption. We extended the deadline to give people more time. And then on top of it, town staff does make phone calls to people who apply in later years, and did not apply this year. So town staff's doing their due diligence as well. It looks like I read their letter. I'm assuming that's you guys in the back. I read your letter and I understand that there was a miscommunication with the filing. So for that reason, I'll prove it, but I'm concerned about the floodgates that'll open, because we don't know what's behind it.
Well, given that we have to approve every one of these, I don't think it's gonna open much of a floodgate.
Right, Mr. President,
Yeah.
I agree with you. And reading the letter, they did their due diligence of trying to get things done. So something got lost along the way. Maybe they lost it, maybe somebody else lost it, but it's not as if they didn't try to get
Right.
it done.
Yeah, and I do remember hearing about all of this.
Mr. President, the reason why I made the motion is, one, they've lived in town for a while. Two, we want to help our elderly retirees to be able to age in place. That means to be able to afford to stay in their homes. So whatever we can do to help that along, that's what I'd like to see. And looking at the letter, I can see that it wasn't written off a computer, wasn't typed, it was handwritten. So again, I can be proficient, but I can't. But something, there are a lot of the older folks that are not proficient with their computers. And sometimes things do get kind of lost in the discussion and how they come to the town hall, submitting things online and whatnot. So case by case basis, these folks were never late before. That's the reason why I made the motion, and I feel so wholeheartedly giving you folks the exemption. I think you deserve it.
So this exemption is a small amount for the town, but a big amount for you.
That's right.
And that's why we support this.
For
So
sure. I'm in agreement with that. Sure.
let's take a vote.
Aye.
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 Unanimous. Okay. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
Discussion and consideration of requests for Hillsdale.
Sorry. You should have to make a separate motion for Carmen on the abatement motion.
Oh.
The first motion was to accept the late filing, the second one.
Mike.
Mr. President,
Yes,
motion to accept the abatement in the amount of $1,240.64.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, moving on to the discussion and consideration of a request from Hillsdale Housing Cooperative Corporation in the Inc. concerning 465 Gardner Road, Unit 7. To abate the property, A is to abate the property taxes on 465 Gardner Road, Unit 7, as of August 20th, 2024, in the amount of 35,000.
39,000.
39,000?
That's fine.
35.
35.
39 right there. 39.8.
Oh, that's his cover letter. The agenda says something different. Well, we'll hash that out.
Okay. Do I have a motion for discussion?
Move
To what?
to approve.
Second.
Okay,
Discussion.
discussion. So how much is it really?
Aaron, one of those is a typo.
Approving it.
Oh.
Value of the mobile.
Yeah,
Oh, is that what that is?
yeah.
Yeah, the town has back taxes. Danielle, I think it was more along the lines of 36,000.
My apologies. I read it.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
The agenda says 35.
It is. I apologize. I
Right about it.
I misread the number.
Yeah, the value is 39.
You get a
The
pay cut.
taxes are 35.
You're
Well,
fine.
Mr. President,
I quit.
Mr. President,
Yes, ma'am.
I do believe it works for the good of the town of Richmond to approve this. Because the way it is, they can't bringing anybody else in who could pay the bill. The man is deceased. The wife there's no money there to
Right.
pay the bill.
Mr. President. Mr. President.
Counselor Sheehan, let me just, there is a probate estate, to my knowledge, that's been opened on behalf of Mr. Colburn, the deceased. That has not been closed yet, from what I understand, based on the facts. So the town has a claim for the back taxes. Until the estate is probated to the end, we don't necessarily, town representatives, do not necessarily know how much will be in that estate. There could be nothing. There's a good chance
Okay.
there is.
Or because of.
It could be
to
something.
leave it.
So my suggestion, something to think about is you wait till the probate estate is done. If it's considered an insolvent estate, the probate judge, Ms. Anjustian, will make that determination. At that point, tax collector can say the debt is uncollectible. There's no assets.
Do we know when they might do the probate? Because in the meantime, we have,
Right.
mice, rats, blah, blah, around
There's
there.
nothing, I don't think there's anything preventing Hillsdale from fumigating the unit and removing the rodents. I understand the unit has no value and it's in very deplorable shape and dilapidated shape. But you can certainly abate the taxes if you wish tonight. Just know that if somebody finds an insurance policy or there's some asset that comes into that estate, once you've abated that tax, you will be foreclosed from going back and saying, oh, well, you found some money, we like the money. Can't. So you can do it, just understand that that's out there.
Mr. President.
Yes.
That's my concern with this, is that we don't know what's going on with the probate or anything that he just said very eloquently, so I won't repeat it. But I also just have concerns with how long this was dragged on for and why something wasn't done sooner. I think the cover letter said 18 years. Don't quote me on that. And I just think about, like, the town has done everything we could. We filed a UCC. We have the liens in place to make sure we get collected when it's in probate. This business really should be doing the same and almost planning for something like that. If you're running a business, you kind of want to plan around something that could go wrong. And I think it's a landlord-tenant situation.
Right.
Your tenant moves out and leaves a mess. I mean, you got to kind of plan for
Yeah,
that. So if
that's
I
part
think
of
about
it.
$35,000 over the course of 18 years, divided by 100 residents, like that could have been a very small fee for each person to kind of upkeep their own community.
Right.
I mean, I know it's all the communities share, and I really feel bad for what's happening there because I've spoken with the residents directly next door, and other residents within the Hillsdale Housing Corporation. So I really do want this resolved, but I don't think it should be done through this kind of like quick fix way. I think it should be done through probate. I also have further concern with letter, excuse me, 2, to facilitate the change in ownership, and I just don't understand how we can do that because we don't own it. So I don't know, like if we don't own something, how can we give it to somebody else? So that's one thing that I just don't think that we can authorize at
Well,
all.
it's removing the tax lien so that it can be sold.
Right, but number 2 was a completely different option, facilitate the change in ownership of tangible. They're asking us to take the estate of Carlton Colburn's property away from the estate and give it to the Hillsdale Housing Corporation.
No, that's not how I read it.
Okay.
I read it the same way
Yeah.
that Mark read it.
Exactly. Mr. President, I think
Yeah.
there's the representatives here. Maybe they could shed some light on this if you would allow them to.
I'm happy to speak. if
Yeah,
you
please.
don't-
Yes, please.
Certainly. Good evening. My name is Jeffrey Garabedian and I represent Hillsdale. I can certainly provide some additional information with regard to some of the questions and concerns that have been raised. So initially, yes, this has been ongoing for 18 years, which Mr. Colburn passed away 18 years ago. He passed away, his wife and at times their son lived in the mobile home. There weren't any issues at that point. Taxes were being paid, rent was being paid, which is a couple $100s a month. I mean, basically Hillsdale owns the land and the pad. It's a $200 monthly charge. So what's happened since then is Mrs. Colburn became ill, became disabled to some degree, both physically and mentally. And the trailer, the mobile home, became dilapidated. And in 2023, the town actually condemned it The building inspector went out there and issued an order which prompted another action from my client to facilitate this. But bearing in mind, at no point did we want to put this poor woman out into the street. So that's why some of the delay occurred, is that we had a community resident, someone that they knew, who they didn't want to simply just say, well, we understand that you're suffering from various ailments and other things. We're gonna move you out. And I know, Councilor, you said it's a landlord-tenant issue. It's really not. While in some respects it is, the mobile home aspect makes this a completely different arena. So if I'm evicting a tenant, which I do often, I can evict a tenant, I can get an execution, I can remove their stuff, I still own the house. If they leave behind trash, I can throw it out. If they owe personal tangible taxes, which is what this is, that's not my landlord's issue. That follows the person and the property. Here, we have a mobile home which is really attached to the land, and which over time was valued at $39,000, is now really a negative value. I mean, this, and when we say, we could fumigate it, this is not a salvageable piece of property. This is scrap metal at this point. And as we've tried to work this out, and believe me, I was the second attorney in that they tried to do it, it failed. And anyway, we got through it. We gave her 6 months to get out. We worked with her counselor, gave her enough time to find a place to go, to get out. And when they left a complete mess. I wouldn't say not just trash, but this was open to the elements, the rodents, it was, no one should have been living in there. There was no running water. By the end, it became a terrible mess. So we were trying to take the humane position throughout. We did that. We went through the court process. We worked with her and her attorneys to do it in a way that accommodated her so that we could get her from that place to a safe place. So now she's living somewhere off out of the community, and she's, being taken care of. Now, with regard to the probate estate, so what happened was, at some point after Mr. Colburn's death, an attorney attempted to file a probate, attorney Gladstein, I believe. But what he tried to do is to file a small estate probate. So we did that, which was not proper. The judge here denied that petition, but didn't close the estate. So basically, there's a faulty petition that exists for an estate that really doesn't exist. He's been gone obviously for 18 years. There's no assets that anyone is aware of. And I guess to try to expect that probate would be facilitated is really a difficult process. We investigated that as to, well, can I go in and simply refile? But I have nobody to do it. He's gone. There's really the only heir is Mrs. Colburn, who is now mentally not fit. So it'd be very difficult to go forward. Yes.
So you're telling the council, there's no one has any standing to bring the estate.
That's correct.
Is there, thinking out loud, I'm not trying to give you.
Oh, absolutely.
Would it work for you in Hillsdale? Because as Councilor Wilcox said, the town doesn't own that unit. The town can't give it away. The town can't tell you what to do with it or not do with it. It's not theirs to do. They don't have that authority. If you went and got Washington County Superior Court injunctive relief, sought an order to remove that dilapidated unit, I would think you would get it. You could move pretty, I mean, you still have to do it.
Sure. And if I can, so I think the posture that we're in now is really not about removing the unit, because I think the district court order that I have, the execution, we can tow that off of there. I mean, so that will help us remove it. But I guess the ownership question really relates to the taxes. With the taxes there, technically there's a lien. And I think as an abundance of caution, we wanted to come here before the council to say, we'd like that to go away so that it doesn't create some impediment for us in the future. I don't think it will. And I think, we've discussed, we could just simply remove this and go from there.
Is there a way to condemn the unit? Has it been condemned?
It has been condemned by the town already.
When was that? 2000?
Yes, 2023, I
Last
believe.
year?
Right.
Is there a way to value it?
It's not.
I don't think there's any,
Value.
I don't think there's
No,
any,
that's fine. If
Yeah,
there's
I don't-
zero value, that's fine.
there's zero value to this.
If there's zero value and you bring that evidence to the town council and they know there's no asset to collect on, to attach, that would give them evidence that in fact abating the debt there wouldn't be any harm to the town because there's nothing to collect. In other words, the debt's uncollectible. No
Right.
judgment.
I understand, and I think that's basically why we're here. I'm not sure if it makes sense for us to hire someone an appraiser to go out and say, you know, this boarded up piece of scrap metal is worth zero. I mean, that's where we're at this point. I think, you know, I've got the notice from Mr. Santilli, who condemned it in May of 2023. And obviously, it's been worse since then. You know, this is not only an eyesore, it's an attractive nuisance, it's a problem. And I think at this point, that's why we're here.
My concern too is as long as that dilapidated condemned trailer is sitting on the pad, the park can't re-rent that unit, and they're, not only are they at a loss for removing that, they're also at a loss from the income that they could get from being able to rent that pad to someone else. So I myself am leaning towards just approving this and moving forward. What is incredibly disturbing to me is the fact that we got to $35,000. How did we get that far?
That's cumulative.
Yeah, because it just keeps going and going, and
Right.
because it's not real property, we can't do a tax sale on it.
Right.
So that's what, the same reason we can't give it away. We can't do a
Right.
tax sale on it. There's no way we can give them ownership. But and Mr. President, while I have the floor, I do share those concerns. I feel for the residents there. I think it's an awful situation, and I want it resolved, but I want it resolved properly. This feels like a little bit, just a little bit of a skirt around making sure the probate's properly closed, or having, I mean, I believe it's properly closed. I just feel, I would feel better as a representative of all the town to know for sure that,
Mr. President, you did address the issue on the probate.
yes, it was in the letter as well.
Right, and I don't think there's any way to properly close it. I think it should have been dismissed ultimately because the petition was faulty, and there's nothing other than this asset. And I'm not sure that I understand what you're saying, but I'm not sure we're trying to skirt anything. We're basically trying to address the tax issue, really, because I think we could remove the debris without
I think
town involvement.
by dragging this out, we're hurting the park, and I don't want to hurt the park. They've been a great neighbor for the town. They're an incredible asset for the town to provide affordable housing, which we lack. So myself, do we have a motion in a second?
Yeah,
Yes.
I put the
Can I
motion
just
on-
clarify the probate?
Yes.
Just for everybody's information here, I do serve as the probate clerk. This petition was submitted, the value for a small petition should be not exceeding 15,000.
Hmm.
The mobile home value at the time was 39,000.
Yeah.
The petition didn't even get to the judge because we can't present it to the judge because it was an improper filing. So the attorney of record was directed to refile as an administrative petition. And that was done, and that was never done. So the probate is not closed. It remains open, however, not acted upon. And there is cases in higher courts that take action on an item that then the order submitted to close a probated estate.
Madam Clerk, can the probate that's open be amended to the type of probate you just mentioned, an administrative probate?
Correct, that happens quite often when
So
we
that
don't
can-
know the value.
So that can be done right now?
It would be a full administration, so they would have to submit a miscellaneous petition saying to change the voluntary and formal administration to a full administration that would allow the actions of a lot of these items to occur.
How long, educate me and the council, please, that process would take approximately how?
The council, I'm sorry, the probate convenes every month, so as long as there was no advertising and proper notice, we could get it in front of the judge. If everybody was on waivers, if there is, I believe there's one heir, a son.
Just the son, well, there's two, Mrs. Colburn is still alive, although not competent to my.
So if she has a power of attorney, that person would be noticed, the son, and we'd have it, then they would have a hearing to appoint an administrator to administrate the estate and determine the value and the appraisals of the home, or of the tangible property. And then there would be a motion that would be available to handle the sale or transfer of ownership of a mobile home that is done. as well as, you know, it's done in real estate, but it's also done quite often with Hillsdale Trailer Park because it is not a real estate asset. So if it's an administration, someone needs to give permission to change ownership if it's not gonna be done through deed.
So Madam Clerk, during that administrative probate, the administration of that probate, let's say, that there would be a value by the administrator, whoever was appointed, as to the value of that mobile. If there's any value, be $1, could be 0. Would the judge then accept that valuation?
Yes, so then there would be a transfer of sale. So then initially for timing wise, it'd be open, creditor period of 6 months for any outstanding, because that is one concern that hasn't really been addressed in my mind, is any other interested parties on behalf of Mr. Colburn. And it would need to remain open for 6 months to handle the creditor period. And then at that time, if there's no other creditors filed, or if it's deemed insolvent after the 6 months and 30 days insolvency period, then it could be, then the taxes would never be collected and it could be closed and a bill of sale transferred to Hillsdale or anywhere that the heir or whoever's representing the state would do.
You still have an order from the court. You're saying that you feel you could take the unit and move it.
I believe that the execution I have from the district court would allow us to simply remove that, demolish it, take it off the, off the site and redo it. It's the same as someone leaving a house behind it.
So there's a possibility those things could be happening at the same time.
Right.
You could take it away, re-rent the pad, and still go through the administrative probate.
If there's a higher court ruling on that items and that's the only tangible property, that would supersede the local probate.
That could be done, but I guess at that point, I'm not sure that Hillsdale would want to expend the sums to continue the probate. That really has no, at that point, has no benefit to them at that point. This man's been dead for
Not 18 years.
19 years. In our opinion, there's nothing left here. I don't see, spending good money after bad at this point. We just want to move forward. We could put we just put a new mobile home in there that's valued at $200,000, which is generating obviously considerable income for the town. That's where we're at this point. I think we're just trying to be a good neighbor. We're trying to present this here and do it the right way rather than go through the process. And it's really just the taxes that we're concerned.
Mr. President, again, it's not only is the man been deceased for 18 years, it's squalor there, and my biggest concern right now is not even so much for Hillsdale Trailer Park themselves, the entity, but the people that live right next to that. That's first and foremost my concern, is for the people that live there, that have to pass that every single day. And then the value of their property, if they choose to sell and move on, I mean, they're coming up against a brick wall with that thing right there. So, for the betterment of the people that live in the proximity of that, and even the whole park, people drive around to see what it's like. The minute they see that, you know what they're gonna say? Some people will say it. Is that the start of what's happening here? So I think the best thing we can do, there's nothing there, move it forward, let people get on with their lives, let them clean up the pad, get rid of it, get it re-rented, so that way the surrounding properties do not take a hit, all right, if they so choose to sell and move on.
Mr. President.
Go ahead.
It's my understanding that, I believe that this has happened before though, too, where there was a lot of taxes owed and we gave relief before. So my concern really is that we're creating a pattern where that's acceptable. And I just really would like for the business to plan for these kind of business expenses accordingly. I mean, I don't think that's a hard ask with $35,000. Like, I don't know, to me, that's a lot of money, that's a good chunk of change and that's a good chunk of change to your business. I understand that, but that's taking away from the rest of us, taking away from the taxpayers. And my concern is it's going to keep happening and happening.
To me, for it to get to that amount, like you said, is almost negligent.
Right, but as a town, we were kind of stuck. So I just feel like we're bailing them out a little bit. I share the concerns that Councilor Colasanti has had. We have beaten that part to death. We all feel what it would be like if that was our neighborhood, if that was our neighbors, and what it would be like to look at that and how just, it would be awful. And I have communicated with, like I said, many residents, regarding the issues that, like, the rats and all that. They did reach out to me. And I've had communications and I get it, I do. But it's the large sum of money that I just can't get past and the security as a council member that it won't happen again. That's for me, that's what's difficult here.
May I address that just briefly? And I know, and I understand what you're saying, that it is a
Thank you.
large amount of money, but I'm not sure how Hillsdale could address that because it's not their debt. So if our residents don't pay their tangible taxes, there's not much we can do. We could evict them, but I can't force them to pay their taxes, nor can I force the town to collect them. So we can't really make a contingency for that and plan for that.
Mhm.
You know, the goal obviously is that everybody lives peaceably and pays their taxes like we all do. But when we get to this instance, because I will say, even though the taxes were running up, her rent was being paid. You know, so she was paying the rent, but not the taxes. So for whatever reason that was, I don't know. But my point is, we can't really do anything about that, you know, unless we establish a contingency to pay everybody's taxes, which obviously isn't a good business decision.
Right.
Mr. President, one last
I
thing.
think, I just don't want to beat it to death anymore. So Chief, did you have something?
Just wanted to clarify one thing, because it may be a matter for probate, but her son passed away a few years ago. I don't believe she has a surviving son unless I'm mistaken.
Right.
All I know is
You're correct.
we evicted someone. There was someone there with her at the court outside.
Her daughter, but he passed away Thanksgiving, probably 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
I thought it was a son, maybe it was I don't know, I thought it was.
I'd like to put it to a vote at this point. I don't really want to pound this to death. So how do you vote?
Aye.
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 Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Mr. President, motion to file communication petitions, proclamations, and resolutions.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 President.
Mr. President, motion.
Mr.
President, if I could just
Oh, sure.
address one thing.
So,
The rat issue, there are no rats there. We had that place all fumigated before it was boarded up.
Right.
If there's any rats, it's with the resident that's been complaining. She's got an axe to grind with us. So I just wanted to let you all know that.
right.
We have kept that place clean. We have been over there several times rebaiting the traps. We keep a very close eye on that property because it's condemned. We mow the grass, we clip the hedges, we keep it presentable, even though it's boarded up.
Yeah, I feel that you guys are a really good neighbor
Yes, sir.
to the town
Yes, sir.
and that you
Your name
run a
for the
good
record.
business.
Your name for the record,
Paul Delamar, I'm the president of Hillsdale. Thank you.
Thank you.
President.
Thank you, sir.
Motion to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.